So this is chapter 1 of my story, All Signs Point to Lauderdale. The dragon haunts my dreams. It's not an actual dragon, but a tattoo. It's on Alice Jardine, the girl who sits in front of me in health class. It starts on her neck and travels down her spine, inviting the hormonal teenage mind to fantasize about what's happening below its head, which is the only part that can be seen while she wears a shirt. I'm staring at the back of her neck now as I sit in health class. Miss Lauren, the health teacher, is saying something about something, but I'm not paying any attention. I haven't really heard a word she said all semester. Instead, I've devoted all of my time to fantasizing about a world in which I could get to see what's underneath Alice's shirt. She turns in her chair to face me, giving me a perfect view of her face. It's framed with blonde hair with pink ends. Her eyes are blue, her nose is small, and her lips are full. "Hey," she starts. "Can I borrow a pencil?" Sure, okay. I stammer, a little surprised by the sudden conversation in which I've just engaged. "Thanks." She stops as if trying to recall my name. I wait a couple of seconds, and eventually I realize that she's not going to remember it. She doesn't even know it. "Trip," I say, hoping that this conversation will go past introductions. I reach into my pocket and produce a pencil, which I hand to her. "Right," she replies. "Thanks." She turns back around to listen to whatever Miss Lauren is saying. I guess that's the end of our conversation. I'm disappointed, but not surprised. You'd think that the black kid who likes anime, skating, and rock music would stand out, but it's quite the opposite. If I had a superpower, it would be invisibility. It's not as cool as it sounds. I spend the rest of the class focusing on the little things. A bird that flies past the window, the weird growth on Mrs. Lauren's face, the clock in the front of the room, the suspicious stain on the crappy carpet, that kind of stuff. Eventually, people start packing their bags, which means it's time for last lunch. I remove my black book bag from the back of my chair. Since it's only health class, I'd never bothered taking out my notebook in the first place. I stand up and sling one of the bag straps over my shoulder. I walk towards the door a little while after everyone has left. I like to wait, because it's a little weird walking down the hall with everyone else as they talk to their friends and you're alone. Being invisible sucks. I make my way down the hall and down the stairs until I'm in the lunchroom. As usual, it's packed and empty seats are rare. I pass all the tables, which are bursting with cliques, as I make my way to my own. First is the moderately preppy table, which is occupied by preppy kids wearing All-American Eagle and Hollister. Some of them tell stories, but most of the kids are buried in their phones, probably checking Instagram or Kik. Beside them is a basic squad, which is a group made up of the 5 most basic white girls you will ever meet. Between the 5 of them, they probably have enough Abercrombie and Fitch to drown someone. Their attitudes are raw, but they're all admittedly pretty hot. The next table is the loudest in the room. The swaggiest kids of Lauderdale High fill it up, despite the fact that most of them hate each other. I don't know why though, they're all pretty similar. All of them are loud and obnoxious, don't know what a belt is, and talk about the struggle despite spending $200 on shoes. On the other side of the room is the stoner table. The stoners are a colorful group consisting of kids from all different ends of the spectrum. The main component of their friendship is their love for cigarettes, weed, and whatever other drugs they do. The next table is the scene kid table. The girls all have long dyed hair. The guys have slightly shorter hair than the girls, and everyone is adorned with bright t-shirts and wristbands displaying the names of bands like Attack Attack and Sleeping with Sirens. Alex sits there. The ex-scene kids sit on the other side of the same table. Their hair is black and a little shorter than the scene kids. Their shirts are devoid of color or artistic graphics. They've long since taken the advice of douchebags on YouTube comments and traded in bands like Attack Attack, Paris of Vale, and Alisana for real metal bands like A Mice and Men, Beartooth, and Bring Me the Horizon. Basically, they're scene kids without the good music taste and the stoked on life attitude. The rest of the tables are occupied by kids of various shades of personalities and are way less socially concentrated. Eventually, I reach my table, which is in the corner of the room. I see the familiar faces of my friends and sit down next to Ash, who is a girl of the group. She has brown hair that goes down to her neck and swoops over her left eye. Her eyes are brown and intense. She's 5 feet 3 inches, only 2 inches shorter than me. Out of all of my friends, I've known her the longest. She's wearing a plain black t-shirt, camo skinnies, and Chuck Taylors. She's smart, likes to read, and functions as our group's moral compass. Across the table from her is Steve, the dysfunctional leader of our dysfunctional group. He's tall, pasty, and a little on the chubby side. His blonde hair is styled in a faux hawk. He's got on a black shirt that reads, "I heart screamers," and a loose pair of pants. He's immature and lazy, unless he has his mind set on some scheme of his. His hobbies include watching comedies and causing trouble. Jamie's sitting next to him. He's a short, 5'0" Mexican with a big mane of curly hair. He's wearing a Katakyo Hitman Reborn shirt, blue skinny jeans, and checkered Vans. His biggest interest is anime, unless you're counting hentai as a different category. He's quiet, but well liked by everyone. As I take a seat, Steve's face lights up. "Great, we're all here," he says. "Okay, we've all seen the movies. American Pie, Euro Trip." "No," Ash interjects. Steve looks at her like a wounded puppy. "You didn't even let me finish." "I know," Ash shoots back, "but it's still a no." Steve continues to look at her with sad eyes. Eventually, she relents. "Oh, fine. We might as well hear what you have to say." Steve dramatically perks up, and then she adds, "Even if it's just for the lulz." "Good enough," Steve says with a smile and a dismissive wave. "Okay." He pauses, doing his best to pick her on chest. "This is the end of sophomore year, and it might as well be our first day at Lauderdale High School. We hardly have any friends outside of this little group, and none of us have dated anyone." He looks at each one of us, expecting at least one response. He receives no such thing. "Don't you guys think that's a problem?" he asks. "It could be worse," Jamie says, opening his mouth for the first time since they got to lunch. Steve looks at him as one would a three-headed Martian. "Have you seen the girls here?" he asks, pointing his hand in the direction of the basic squad. "There are so many hot girls here, like enough for every dude. We should be swimming in it, bro." Ash coughs, and Steve adds, "Oh, and let's not forget your Steve Seaman, Ash." Ash gives Steve a look that could scare the devil. "So what's your big plan?" I ask, attempting to relieve the tension in the air. "It works, kind of." Ash gives me a, "You're not taking a side, are you? Because if you are, I will cut your balls off," type look. And Steve's grin returns. "We should throw a party." He pauses where he shouldn't in order to draw out our curiosity. "How would throwing a party help her social standing?" I ask in an incredulous manner. Steve reaches across the table and puts his hand on my shoulder like he's my wise uncle. "Dude, you're smart. Use your head. If we throw an awesome party, we'll get popular, and girls will want to do the horizontal mambo." "The what?" I inquire. "The backseat bob, the laying of the pipe, the showing of their walled oats," he answers. I squint my eyes, trying to interpret the gibberish coming from Steve's mouth. He looks around at everyone else, but discovers the same blank expression on both Ash and Jamie's faces. "Have sex," he explains. Ash, who is drinking milk, struggles not to do a spit take. "You think girls will want to have sex with you just for throwing a party?" "Well, that, and because they'll be drunk," Steve answers with a straight face. We all burst into laughter. "You were right, Ash," I say in between laughs. It was worth it to listen to Steve. Steve looks hurt. "Why won't you guys take me seriously?" "Because," Jamie answers, "a party would require a bunch of people, and booze. We could probably only get like 20 people to come, and forget about getting alcohol." I find myself nodding in agreement, but then I think of Alice. She didn't even know my name. I've sat behind her for a whole semester. "How would it all work?" I ask. "Like, where would this party take place? And how would we procure alcohol?" Steve smiles, happy that someone's taking the bait. "First, please never, ever say 'procure' in a conversation again. Save it for words with friends. Second, our party would obviously be at Jamie's house." Jamie raises an eyebrow. "You would have thought," he says. "My parents wouldn't ever let me throw a party, especially not with booze." "So we'll just do it when they're not home," Steve says, as if the solution is so obviously simple. "You like live in a mansion, and we'll find a way to get beer, trust me." "I'd rather not," Ash says. "This party isn't happening, right, Trip?" She looks at me, fully expecting me to back her up. "Well, we could use some more popularity," I say weakly. I mean, Alice didn't even know my name, I think. It might be fun? Ash opens her mouth to say something, but thankfully the bell rings. Fifth period is over. I get up quickly, not wanting to be on the receiving end of one of Ash's lectures. Steve follows behind me, and Jamie and Ash head another way. Or rather, Ash is forced by Jamie to go another way. He has his hands on her arm and is pulling her through the crowd, stopping her from tearing me apart. So you're starting to see the light, Steve says, with a wink. I flash him an amused grin. What are you talking about? Steve looks at me with a serious face, which is rare. His blue eyes aren't playful for once, and he looks like he's been through a war. Dude, you always agree with Ash. It's like she's got you whipped. He raises his hands and brings it down in a whatcha. You agreeing with me means one thing. You want yourself a little lady. I raise my eyebrows and do my best to pretend he didn't hit it right on the nail. I have no idea what you're talking about, I say with a forced laugh. Steve gives me an all-knowing smirk. I look around for a way out and discover that we're in front of the staircase that leads to upstairs to my chemistry class. Later, I say with a wave. Huh, Steve says absently. It smells like pot. I start to notice the same thing. It's weird because people are usually smart enough to only light up in the back of the school, not inside of it. Oh well, I answer. It's not my problem. I turn to head up the stairs.